Welcome to the grade 11 English language class of St. Peter's College, Colombo 4, Nikamu branch. Okay, today I'm going to do an important competency level with y'all, that is competency level 6.1, construct simple sentences. So you all know what the main features of sentences are. So with that we'll proceed. Okay, today the competency level is based on active and passive voice. So these words are very much familiar to you all. So before I step on to the grammatical part, we'll just take the rough meaning of active and passive. What do you mean by the word active? Active means you're energetically performing in a certain situation, or the doer of the action or the subject is performing actively in the situation, right? So what do you mean by passive? Passive means the doer of the action or the subject is passive, is not coming up in the situation. She's passive, she's behind the situation, right? Not energetically performing in the sentence. So that word is called passive. So we move on to the lesson. So before we move on to active and passive voice sentences, we'll just get into our head how to identify a certain sentence, whether it is active voice or passive voice. So how do we identify these sentences? So you all know when it comes to a sentence, the first thing that you can identify is the verb. The most easiest thing that you can identify in a sentence is the verb. Either it can be auxiliary verb or either it can be an action word. The first thing that we can easily locate is the verb, right? So now here first you have to locate the verb, right? And then secondly, from the verb you need to identify. You need to ask the two questions, who and what, from the verb, and see who is performing that particular action. Who is performing the particular action? What is performing, right? So you can secondly ask what or who is performing the action. That is the second thing that you can locate. And the third one, if the person performing the action is at the initial position, that means if that subject, now after locating what or who, that is called the subject. So if the subject has come to the top of the sentence or at the initial position, that type of sentences are called active voice sentences. So when it comes to a sentence, if we are highlighting the doer of the action, if they are highlighting the subject, the person who is performing the action, that means we place that particular person at the initial position. Why? Because we consider that particular person who has done the action or the subject is important. So because it is important, we place it at the top of the sentence. So such sentences are called active voice sentences. So here I have given you some examples. First we'll move on to the first one. The dog is biting the man. So in my previous slide I told you all the first thing that you can locate is the verb, right? So we'll locate the verb here. The dog is biting. So you have the is biting verb, right? Who is biting? The dog. So the dog is called the subject. So it's at the initial position. The dog, so subject is the dog, is doing the biting. So because it is at the beginning, the doer of the action, the dog is at the initial position, at the top position. So we call that sentence an active voice sentence. Second example, the player kicked the ball. The player kicked the ball. What is the word? Kicked. Who kicked? The player. So the player is at the initial position or at the top position. Such sentences are called active voice sentences. Moving on to passive voice sentences. When to use passive voice? In general, the passive voice is less direct. Now I told you all passive means it's not coming to the situation straight away. So it's less direct, it's less forceful, it's less concise than the active voice. They are not energetically performing in the sentence. It's not a forceful act, right? It's behind the screen. So such situations we use passive voice. Now here use the passive voice in the following situations. Now here I am going to give you the situations where we can use the passive voice. Use passive voice when you do not know the person who has done the activity. Now if I say the window is broken, right? I don't know the person who has done the breaking of the window, right? So in that case, I'm just mentioning the window is broken, right? So I don't know the doer of the action, so I'm not putting the subject there as the doer, right? So the passive voice is used to know used when you do not know the subject, or when you do not want to reveal the performer of the action. Now if the sentence is the child broke the window, but there I don't want to highlight the child. I don't want to reveal that this particular child has done this act. But what I want to highlight is the breaking of the window. I want to highlight the receiver. In the second one I have given the passive voice when you want to emphasize the receiver of the activity. So there I want to reveal the receiver of the action, that is the window. The window is the person who is the thing that has revealed it, right? So then I want to highlight that. I don't want to highlight the person who has done it. In such situations I use passive voice when I do not want to highlight the performer of the action, right? Okay. Now this is a common way of transforming an active voice sentence into a passive voice sentence. Bring the object. Now in a sentence, you know, the subject is there, the verb is there, and then comes the object, right? Now here we will first go with the example. She helps him. She is the helps is the verb, she is the subject, she helps whom? Him is the object. So now first one, bring the object first. So children, when it comes to changing active voice sentences into passive voice sentences, the first thing that you can do is, first you have to identify the verb, the subject and the object. And this particular object should come to the top. The particular object which is in the active voice sentence has to come to the top of the sentence when it comes to passive, right? That is the receiver of the action voice, active voice has to come to the top of the passive voice sentence. So bring the object first. Him, the object pronoun, has come here to the top as a subject pronoun. Him has changed into he when it comes to object pronoun into a subject pronoun. And choose the correct be form. You all know the be words, auxiliary verbs, helping words, am, is, are, was, were, has, have, had, and been, those stuff. So you have to choose the correct be word according to the subject, right? So here I have used the word he, and then change the verb into past participle, right? Helped is not the simple past tense, but it's past participle of the verb, right? So help, helped, helped. Okay. So the word helped is there, and then you have to use the byword, and then her. This subject pronoun again has to go as the object pronoun her, right? So that is the basic way of changing an active voice sentence into a passive voice. You take the object into the subject, and then subject into the object, and then you have to change the verb as well. Okay. So now I told you all, when it comes to these object and pronoun and the subject pronouns, there should be some changes. So these are the changes that will occur, right? The pronouns can also change is I by me, you by you, he, she, it by her, by him, by it, and then we, you, they. Likewise, you have to change the subject pronouns into object pronouns, right? This is the structure. So now, simple present tense. So before I move on to this, I'll give you all another small hint. Now, in my previous presentation, I did the word classes with you all. So you all know the second word class, verb, right? So verbs can be categorized into two sections, as I mentioned earlier, transitive verb and intransitive verb. So what do you mean by a transitive verb? Transitive verb means there is an object in the sentence. There is an object in the sentence. The child broke the window. Broke, the child broke what? The window. An object is there. Intransitive, the window is broken. The person who has done it, intransitive verb, the birds fly. The birds fly. No object is there. No object is there when it comes to intransitive verb. But transitive verb, the child broke the window. An object is there. So when you change this active into passive voice, only these transitive verb sentences can be changed into passive voice. Only the verbs that sentences which hold transitive verbs can be changed from active to passive voice. Why? When it comes to active voice sentences into passive voice sentences, you have to take this object towards the top. Right? So there should be an object that should come as a subject of the passive voice. So when there is no object, like in the transitive sentences, you can change active into passive. Okay, please get that to your head clearly. When it comes to transitive verbs, you can change active to passive voice. But when it comes to intransitive verb means there is no object. So if there is no object, you can't turn such sentences into passive voice. Right? So that is another hint. Okay, now when you move on to these tenses, in grammar there you all know there are three main tenses: present tense, past tense and future. Present tense, past tense and future. And each of the tenses can be categorized into four sub tenses: present tense, simple present, present continuous, present perfect continuous. Likewise, 4 into 3, there are 12 tenses, right? So when it comes to active voice sentences, a sentence can perform act as active voice sentences in all the 12 structures. Right? But when it comes to these passive voice sentences, there are certain sentences which we cannot include to that particular tense. Right? Now I will explain it to you all when it comes to the correct tense. Right? So you can't take to all the 12 sentences. If you take 12 tenses under active voice sentences, we can't change all those 12 sentences into passive voice. Right? So now but when it comes to these first three categorizations, simple present tense, simple past and simple future tense, all those three can be changed into from active to passive voice. So first I am moving on to those three categorizations: simple present into passive, simple past into passive and simple future into passive. We are moving on to the first tense, simple present tense. So I have started with an example regarding active voice sentences. First, you know, there has to be the subject and then the verb and the object. So when it comes to passive voice, I told you all the object has to come to the top and then it will become the subject. So here the object has come here, the subject, and then you have to use, because since it is a simple present tense, the auxiliary verbs that you have to use or the verb B's that you have to use are am, is, are, plus past participle of the verb. Then you have to use is by form and the object. Okay. When it comes to passive voice, this object has come to the top and it will be the subject of the passive sentence. And then you have to use either am, is or are, because since it is a simple present tense, and then past participle of the verb, then the by form with the object. So here I have given you an example. He eats hamburgers every day. So what is the verb? Eats. Who eats? He. He eats what? Hamburgers. So it has to come to the top. Hamburgers eats. Hamburgers eats plural. So you have to use are. Hamburgers are eaten. Past participle of the word eat. Right? Eaten by him. And the rest of the part every day has to be included there. So the example will be like this: hamburgers are eaten by him every day. Right? So that belongs to simple present tense. And we'll move on to another example. The professor teaches the students. The verb is teaches. Who teaches the professor? The professor teaches what? The students. So the students has to come to the top. Right? The students is plural. So you have to use are. And is are, though from those three, you have to use the word are. So the students are taught by the professor, right? Okay. Moving on to simple past tense, right? Here I have given you an example. The cat killed the snake. So what is the first thing that you have to look at? It's the verb. So what is the verb? Killed. Who killed? The cat. The cat killed who? The snake. So the snake will be the object and it has to come to the top, a snake, and there should be the change of the verb by the cat. Okay. So how do you change this verb? The word discovered. Discovered is changed into was discovered. So why do you say that? Killed into was killed. What is the difference? What is the difference between simple present tense and simple past tense? When it comes to simple present tense, when changing the be word, we used am, is, are plus past participle of the verb. But here, the word killed is past tense, so we have used was killed. So when it comes to the simple past tense, the structure is when it comes to present tense, am, is, are. Here it should be was or were plus past participle of the verb. According to the subject, it differs. If it is snakes, then it has to be verb. Because this is singular, they have used the be verb was. The snake was killed by the cat. Okay. Now we'll move on to our second example. Columbus discovered America. Again, the word discovered is there. America has come to the top. America was discovered by Columbus. This belongs to simple past tense. Okay, moving on to the simple future tense of passive voice. First, I have given you an active voice sentence, active voice structure, subject, will or shall plus verb plus the object. Okay, so now when it comes to passive voice, you all know that object has to come to the top and then it will become the subject. Then shall or will plus be, there should be the word be, plus past participle of the verb and the by formation plus the object. Okay, so example has been given. My parents will take us to the park. My parents will take us to the park. So the verb is will take. So the word will take belongs to simple future. So this is an active voice sentence. So in the active voice sentence, the verb is will take, it's given in future tense. So it has to be changed. Will take is a verb. So we'll take the second location, that is my parents, the subject. My parents will take what? Us. To the park is the rest of the thing, right? So my parents will take us. Us has to come to the top. Then it has to be changed into a subject pronoun. We. And then will be past participle. Then will be, the past participle of take is taken. Will be taken. We will be taken to the park by our parents. Right? We will be taken to the park by our parents. Okay, this is how you construct a simple future tense sentence in an active voice into passive voice. Now here, simple future tense, another example. Carol will bite. Will bite fly if she ignores her again. Will bite is a verb. Who will bite? Carol. Bite what? Fly. So fly has to come to the top. Fly will be bitten. Will be plus past participle by Carol if she ignores her again. Okay, that is another example. Right. So here I have just briefed you out how the verb has been changed from active to passive. The present simple, am, is, are plus past participle of the verb. Second one was verb plus past participle of the verb. And the future simple passive, will or shall plus be plus past participle of the verb. This is the structure of the verb changing from active to passive. Am, is, are plus past participle, was, verb, and then plus past participle, and then will be plus past participle. This is the basic structure of the verb from active to passive, right? Now we are moving on to the second set. First we discussed about the first three, simple, present, past, future. Now we are moving on to present continuous, past continuous and future continuous. Now before I start up this stuff, I told you all there are certain tenses which you cannot use in passive voice. Now here in this continuous formation, continuous tenses, we have only the first two categorizations, that is present continuous tense and past continuous tense from active to passive, and we are not going to have this future continuous tense into passive voice. We don't use that. We use only the first two, right? So we'll move on to the first one. Present continuous tense of passive voice. Now here I have given you the object has to come to the top, and then since it is present tense you have to use is or are, right? Because it is continuous formation, you know the verb with the ing word, ing formation is called the present continuous, an activity that is happening now, right? So you have to use this be-ing word, right? Be-ing, then again past participle of the verb plus the rest of the thing. And it's very simple, children. It's not complicated. Take it very easily. There's nothing complicated here. Present continuous tense and the past continuous tense only we have from these continuous tenses. When it comes to present continuous, you have this object plus is or are because it is present tense, and then you add this be-ing form. Normally when it comes to continuous tense, you add the three letters ing form, right, to show it is continuous. So then you have this be-ing word. Since it is continuous, the past participle and the rest of the sentence. Okay, we'll move on to an example. Active voice sentence is the girls are collecting flowers. The girls are collecting flowers. Then what is the verb? Are collecting. Who is collecting? The girls. The girls are collecting what? Flowers. So flowers has to come to the top. We'll see. Flowers has come to the top, and then the construction of the verb, and then by the girls is given on the other side. So we'll see how this verb has been changed from active to passive, right? So first you have to use, according to the subject, you have to use either is or are. Since the word flowers is a plural noun, we have used are instead of is. And then be-ing word to show it is continuous form. So the word be-ing is even there. And then you have the past participle of the verb. The word is collect, right? The word infinitive is the collect. So the past participle is collected. Then the rest of the stuff by the girls, right? The example is the girls are collecting flowers. The flowers are being collected by the girls, right? Okay. Here I have given you 4 examples. We'll just roughly go through this. First one, the teacher is teaching a lesson. The teacher is teaching a lesson. So first locate the verb. Is teaching. Who is teaching? The teacher. The teacher is teaching a lesson. A lesson is the object. So you take it to the top. A lesson is there, right? So this is singular. So you have to use is. Then the word be-ing has to be used because this is teaching, continuous formation. The word be-ing is there. And then the past participle of the word teach. And then by the teacher. It's very simple, children. A lesson is being taught by the teacher. Okay, clear. Second one, the child is eating a biscuit. What is the verb? Is eating. Who is eating? The child. The child is eating what? A biscuit. So we'll move on. A biscuit has to come to the top. The biscuit is given in singular. So you have to use the auxiliary verb or the be word is, right? And then you have to use be-ing since it is present continuous. And then past participle of the word eat by the child. So the answer is a biscuit is being eaten by the child. A biscuit is being eaten by the child. Moving on to the third example. They are making kites. They are making kites. What is the verb? What is the verb? Are making. Who is making? They. They are making what? Kites. So kites has to come to the top. Kites. Then since it is plural, you have to use are. So are, then be-ing because it is continuous form. Then past participle of make, made by them. So the answer is kites are being made by them. Moving on to the last one. They are decorating the hall for the function. They are decorating the hall for the function. What is the verb? Are decorating. Who is decorating? They. They are decorating what? The hall. For the function is the rest of the stuff, right? So they are decorating the hall. They are decorating what? The hall. The hall has to come to the top. So the hall is singular. So you have to use the auxiliary verb is. The hall is being decorated for the function by them. So this by formation, either you can come up to the top as well. That is for the function part, you can put it to the end of the sentence, and you can take the by form to the top as well. But then according to the when you go through the meaning of the sentence, you have to change it, right? So the answer is the hall is being decorated for the function by them, or else you can say the hall is being decorated by them for the function. So that depends according to the situation. You can change it, right? Change the positions. The hall is being decorated for the function by them, or the hall is being decorated by them for the function. So according to the meaning, you can change it, right? So now next we are moving on to our last tense, that is past continuous tense. Past continuous tense of passive voice. We'll move on to the structure first. First you have the object, and then according to the object you have to use either was or were. Was or were. Then again, because since it is continuous formation, you have to use the word being, past participle of the verb, and the rest of the sentence, right? We'll move on to the example. Structure again. Object, was or were, plus being, plus past participle of the verb, and the rest of the stuff. Move on to the example. Same sentence which I took for the previous slide. That is active voice. The girls were collecting flowers. When you say were, it belongs to past tense, right? From that only you have to identify to which tense it belongs to, whether it is present or past. The girls were collecting flowers. So what is were? Were collecting. Who was collecting? Then the girls were collecting. The girls were collecting what? The flowers. So the flowers has to come to the top. Flowers, since it is plural, we have to use were, right? So flowers were being collected by the girl. This word collected is not the simple past but the past participle. So flowers were being collected by the girls. It's not complicated, children. Very simple. Take the structure to your head. Am, is, are plus past participle, and before that you have to use being. Now here it's very simple. The past tense of am, is, are is was and were, and then you have this continuous word being, past participle, and the rest. Okay, we move on to the same examples. There are slight changes. The first one, the teacher was teaching a lesson. The verb is was teaching. The teacher is the subject. The object is a lesson. A lesson has come to the top. A lesson was being taught by the teacher. Moving on to the second one. The children were eating biscuits. Biscuits were being eaten by the children. Biscuits were being eaten by the children. They were making kites. Kites has to come to the top. Kites, plural. So you have to use the auxiliary verb or the be word were. Then kites were being made by them. Made is the past participle of the word make, right? So kites were being made by them. Okay, right. Moving on to the last one. They were decorating the hall for the function. They were decorating the hall for the function. The verb is were decorating. The person who has done it is they. They were decorating what? The hall. So you have to take the word hall to the top as the object. So the hall is singular, so you have to use was. Then the hall was being decorated for the function by them. So you can use either this way, or you can use the hall was being decorated by them for the function. Okay, that depends. The hall was being decorated. Was plus being formation plus the past participle of the word decorate. Decorate, decorated, past tense, past participle also decorated, right? So the hall was being decorated for the function by them. So I told you all in the third section, future, when it comes to simple future tense into passive voice, right? We did it in the previous slides, but when it comes to this continuous formation, there is no such sentences changing into passive voice. Future continuous changing into passive voice is not here, right? Okay. So this is going to be the end of my presentation. So in my next presentation, I'll teach you all the perfect tenses and the perfect continuous tenses. So thank you for sparing your precious time with us. God bless you. Have a blessed day, children.